Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, lovely people. This is Marie Alessi with yet another episode of Unsilenced Grief. And today I'm really, really looking forward to this conversation because Ksenia and I had a bit of a chat before we came live here. And Ksenia and I were connected through somebody, and I feel really, really bad because neither of us could remember who it was. I so love giving a shout out, but today I just want to hand over the microphone to you, Xenia, to give a bit of an introduction and share a little bit about who you are, because I can't wait to have this conversation with you. Welcome, and thank you for
Oh,
being here.
Marie, thank you so much for having me on this program. I'm so excited to meet you and to be here with your audience as well. And so I'm Ksenia Merck. I'm an architect and artist. And my most recent project is Ghost Flower. And it is a gift to me that my husband had written and wanted published. And then after he passed, I took on the project and gladly took on the project to publish it. And then I authored a companion journal to go with it. And it's just a gift to me to be able to do that and share this story.
Mm. Share the story. I think that's our segue. Can you take us back to wherever you want to start this story? Because this story is so touching and so different and so beautiful. It's really, really unique. And that was one of many reasons why I said, do you want to come and share this on my podcast? It is so special and I don't want to take anything away from it. Can you take us back to, I'm going to ask you this. How did you meet your husband? I always like having the love story in there as well.
Well, I actually met him through work.
Hmm.
And I was an architect on a project and met him that way. And he was very gracious and kind and wonderful to work with. And so that's how I met him initially. And then some time passed, and then um, things changed and for the better. And so we got married, and it was the best decision that I've ever made in my life.
Oh, I love that you say that. I say the exact same words about my husband, so it always touches me. Um, Tell us a little bit about your relationship. How were
Well,
you outside of work? How was your life?
well, our relationship was really just a partnership and a commitment to each other, and with a bond and a trust, and um, it was incredible to be with Bill. He was the person that I wanted to be with. He was the person that I wanted to come home to and talk to, and I'd call him a million times a day. And he was the person that I wanted to talk to. He was the person that I wanted to be with. It didn't matter what we were doing.
Mm,
Um, and what is and having really being very blessed with a relationship like that, I didn't know what it would be like. I didn't really think about what it would be like without him. I never went there in my mind because I was
mm,
always just with him in the moment. And I, I didn't know what it was going to be like after he passed. And I've been on very much a spiritual journey since the time he was in the hospital. And it's been incredible, and I'm uh, surprised in a lot of ways that I feel that this bond that I have with him is now actually stronger.
mm.
And
Before we
I
go
feel
there, can you just help us with a timeline, because our listeners don't know anything about the transition from happy marriage, beautiful relationship, and then all of a sudden hospital. What happened? When did the diagnosis come? How long into meeting him or marrying him? Just so we get an idea of, and take us on the timeline with you, please.
well, we were married for 26 years,
Wow.
and my mother actually lived with us for 14 years, and she passed when she was 102 in August
Oh my
of
God.
22.
That is
And
so beautiful.
Bill, did he I was her primary caregiver, and he, helped, just amazing. The patience of
Mm,
this man to do this, and it just unbelievable. Well, the year of 23 was really very difficult for me, uh, grieving about her. And then in the fall of 23, Bill was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And we had gone to the doctors, and it was supposed to be a manageable case. And January of 24, it was off the charts bad. Off the
mm,
charts bad. And so I took him to the emergency. Um, and it's 2 years ago, right around this time when this was happening. So it's just I can't help but think about those details. But
yes.
um, they said that if I hadn't taken him to the emergency that Friday night, that he would have not made it through the weekend. Well, we were in the hospital for 2.5 months, um, in and out of ICU. Both of us had PTSD.
Mm,
Um, and it was just a roller coaster, and neither of us were sleeping, which all contributed to the PTSD. And I kept saying, Bill, you have got to get better so that we can write a book together to help people about this situation
mm,
is traumatic. We've got to help people. We've got to write a book together. And I think during that time too, and I've always been a very spiritual person, and I prayed. Oh, I just constantly, I felt like, but I felt like the vibration and the bond with Bill. I think so many things were rising up.
mm,
I felt that the vibration was rising up, that people were coming in, they were praying, they were, genuinely concerned, people that we didn't know. And since I had been there so long, people in the hospital with, how's Bill doing? And
mhm.
so there was this general, just, I felt the whole vibration rise, but I also
Yeah.
felt my bond with Bill getting stronger. And that continued after he passed. And I really
You
feel
know,
like he has been with me every step of the way on this project.
mm, I want to say this, and it keeps coming up for me, and knowing you a little bit and knowing your background and your spiritual connection, I feel that I can say that to you. It is so bizarre that when you think of the sentence that you said before not too long ago, if you hadn't taken him to ICU, sorry, to the emergency hospital that Friday night, he would have not made it through the weekend. And then you were gifted those 2.5 months. And for some people, when you refer to 2.5 months in ICU and everything that's been going on there, it doesn't really sound like a gift. But when you look at it from where we're standing now, it is just absolutely incredible that you were gifted this time and that his life didn't end that weekend, because what came out of it is a gift that ripples around the world now, and a gift that keeps giving.
Yes.
And I'm just absolutely in awe from a spiritual perspective when you look at it, what's been happening in those 2.5 months and thereafter. So you mentioned the book a couple of times. You mentioned that you had this idea in hospital for the first time, saying you got to get better. Is that right? You had it in hospital, or that was the first time
So,
you had the idea of the book, or was that
well,
before?
well, he had written two books,
Hmm.
one on leadership, Secrets of a Lifetime of Success, and then Breadcrumbs, Finding a
Hmm.
Philosophy of Life. And he had written those two books, but then he wrote this third book, Ghost Flower, and it had already been to the his editor before he went into the hospital. And
Mm.
so we had the manuscript on his computer in the hospital, and he was doing some tweaks to it there. And then there was one day where I was so excited because he wanted me to bring a sketch pad and some colored pencils, and the plan all along was that I would paint the cover, and so he was sketching
Mhm.
out some ideas of what he wanted. And so I was so encouraged that particular day because I felt like there was a spark to get better to finish it. And but there was just too much that was
Mm.
going on there
Yeah.
in the hospital, and um, he passed over in March of 24. But the project, he wanted the project, and there was so much for me to do administratively, and then there was so much commotion here. I couldn't find that sketch, but I knew it in my mind. I knew what he
Hmm.
wanted,
Hmm.
and so after I got into the book, and I was just so inspired that it inspired me to let's go. Let's it was a spark. It was this ray of light that came
Mm.
in and said, let's go do this. And so I tackled it, and I was loving it, and it saved me as a person. And as I look back on all of it right now, I really feel like there's a bigger plan that's unfolding, and
Mm.
I feel like I'm doing it, but there is a bigger plan here, and I feel that this project has is just a gift to help me heal. And that's what's
Mm.
amazing is the book is about healing
Yeah.
these people in the future in 2035. And so here
Mm.
this book is about healing people in the future. They have to do time travel to find this plant clues about this mysterious ghost flower that was planted by aliens thousands of years prior to. And then here I am, and this project is healing me. And I think about that, and I just am blown away. I'm blown away at this, I feel, divine plan.
Mm.
And it just because I'm not sure how it would go if there wasn't this. And so
Yeah.
this is a gift, definitely a gift to me.
So when did Bill first tell you about this book, and in particular the content of this book? Because this is not like an everyday story, this is very out there. And for people who don't have any connection to any of what you just said, they might go like, what on earth is this about? So how was your response when Bill first told you about this? And I think the biggest question for a lot of people, from where I'm sitting, I think I know the answer, but for a lot of people out there who might not have that connection, they might say, is that real? Is that fiction? Is that something that he's been told to do? Is there spiritual guidance behind that? Share a little bit about what was your reaction when Bill first told you
Well,
about what he's writing about?
well, he was always interested in the stars. He was always
Mm.
interested in the stars. He was always, uh, he was interested in there's more here, more that we don't understand, that we can't even comprehend. He kept saying there's so much more that we don't even know. And he was always interested in science fiction. He was always interested in these various aspects of this universe, another universe. Where do we come from? All of
Mm.
these deep core points. And so um, so it wasn't a total surprise to me that he wanted to write a science fiction book because he was always interested in these
Mm.
themes and these concepts. And he was also interested in helping people. So here we have his first book on leadership, his second book on finding a philosophy of life, his third book, really a humanitarian, because I believe he is a great humanitarian, writes a book about saving the future
Mm.
from a major pandemic and having to do
Mm.
time travel to 1585 to plant clues about this mysterious flower that was brought thousands of years prior to. So he weaves in all of these things. Uh, a lot of the themes that he had from his first two books are woven
Mhm.
into this book, but additional themes with the time travel and being able to go to 1585, but not being able to come back. And would you do it?
Mm.
And these people, the
Would you do
team,
it to save humanity or what?
humanity,
Yeah.
yes. And
Yeah.
so uh, these are deep questions about what people
Yes.
would do, and there were some folks that wanted to stay in 2035, and others that said yes, we'll go to 1585, and we'll do this. And it's interesting because then there's the stories of each person and their journey in this book, and how each person finds purpose. And so here's another theme of finding purpose. And right now, I have found a purpose. So this book is a gift to me. I have now a new purpose about how to go forward. And I really do think that I can help people who are grieving. And
Mhm.
so that is really important to me.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And Xenia, you also talked about how you found your healing through that book. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that process for you?
Yes, and in large part it is because of the art. So,
Mm.
the first meeting that I had with our editor, I would made a big pot of coffee, and I had my notes, and I was ready to go, and I was so energized that I locked the front door, brought out all my paints to the dining room table, and I just started drawing and painting just different things that I knew Bill wanted, and then I started drawing these stars. And
Mm.
I had the backgrounds that you see there. I did all of those, the backgrounds on the book and the journal.
Hmm.
I did those with my hands.
Oh,
And
wow.
then I did the other because I really wanted to feel it. And that's how I did the backgrounds with the water, and then I did the individual paintings and collaged them together. And that process of that those moments of doing that art, um, for me, I have to be rested. So I was really working on trying to get enough sleep so I could do this. And so that changed a lot of my routines about me, how I'm operating, because I really wanted to be rested so I could do the art. But those moments of doing the art, I wasn't thinking about all those other day-to-day things. I was thinking about the art and how to, the concepts, and I felt at those moments in particular that closer connection to Bill. And I believe he,
Mm.
with the majority of these, if not, I think all of them, he was right here with me doing these sketches. We're having a conversation about what sketches to do, about what elements to put in. And so it started with, the cover art, and then I decided to do little vignette sketches for the interior of each chapter.
Oh,
And at
nice.
first I started some small sketches, and then they got more involved. So then I had to go back to the earlier ones and redo those so that they would really look compatible.
Hmm.
And so as I was doing those sketches, I was weaving in different clues, different pieces. And so then the idea came to do the journal that really organizes the sketches
That would have been
as
my
they
next
relate
question.
to each other,
Yeah.
and then I tied it to the chapters that talk about with the philosophical and spiritual questions that are in the book. So it
Hmm.
really is a complement to the ghost flower. So
Nice.
um, that's how it inspired me, and that thinking, and that being in a certain way free to do that
Mm.
art was
I
really
love
very
that.
healing.
Thank you so much for sharing this. I really love that this has become such a co-creation between you and Bill, like before and after he passed, and him writing the book, and then you talking about the artwork throughout, him passing over, basically, you then creating it and
Hmm.
then coming in with a journal. It is such a, for me, that is such a weaving the past, present, and future together, and creating something that
Hmm.
is healing and helpful for you as well as for so many others. So it's absolutely beautiful. You also mentioned that you said you want to help people in grief. Can you share a
Hmm.
little bit more about that?
Well, I have been journaling and writing down a lot of the thoughts and different there's certainly different phases of grief, but I think my story shows that, there was a light that came down and I wanted to see more of that light. And so that's why I
Mm,
pursued this purpose. And so I think that if people can find or be inspired and have a spark about something, whether it's that a project that the person who passed wants to have done, or if it's some cause or something that gives you a purpose about how to go forward, I think that that's just vitally important to
mm.
go forward with a new direction.
Yeah. What jumps out for me when you say that, Senya, is what you're talking about in terms of finding purpose, finding something that helps you throughout the process. What you have done with Bill is so much. It goes way beyond art therapy. There's just so much more in there. It goes so much deeper. Like art therapy is such a surface level that might have been a tiny little part of all of it, but there's just so much more in all of that. And I think it's just absolutely incredible the way you describe your project and how it actually came apart, it came to life, I wanted to say. And what I want to ask you is when you think about your day to day now, where and how do you feel and how can you describe that connection that you quite obviously still have with Bill?
Well, there were certain times of the day that Bill and I always, every morning, we would have our coffee together and talk and he would tell me everything that he was writing about his books. And then the same thing at night. I'd come home from work and then we'd have a glass of wine and talk about what he was writing in his books and how my day went. And so, um, I still feel, and I do have these conversations with Bill. I'll
Mm,
be driving to work and I'm talking to him like he's right there in the seat next to me.
mm,
And I do the same thing walking around in the house. And so I feel that this conversation, I feel he's still with me. And that feeling of, uh, it's certainly unconditional love, but it's an eternal love that I feel from him. And I have that for him. And
mm,
So that feeling has given me such a comfort and a different base for how to go
mm.
forward as a person.
Yeah. This is something that I would like to share a little bit and then see how that actually happened or when that happened for you. When Rob, my husband, died, and in Rob's case, it was very sudden. He had a brain aneurysm. I had this, what I later called a spiritual epiphany, that this was all part of our soul contract. And it was
Mhm.
only a few weeks after he died that I had this realization. And it gave me so much, I want to say, comfort, acceptance, healing, all in
Mhm.
one moment. And yet it took me quite some time longer for me to process it before I was able to share it first with closest friends and then later, now also on podcasts. And I also openly wrote a chapter um, about that spiritual epiphany in a book where I was asked to share a chapter, and that was my story. That was the one part of my story that I chose to share in that book because I felt it was very, very suitable.
Mhm.
And it was an anthology, and it was endorsed by the one and only Jack Canfield. So I was very, very honored to be asked to be part of that, and it felt just suitable to choose that. When you think about the way you talk about the connection that you have with Bill, the spiritual connection, I think it's not even necessary to ask you if you believe in soul contracts, but I want to know, when did you actually feel that there was so much more to the story than just you and Bill, that there was a huge purpose behind all of that? When did you feel that first?
Well, I I do I love it that you bring up soul contracts because I
Mm,
believe 1000% with all my heart that Bill and I have a soul contract.
yeah.
And that's why I believe that this is a divine plan that um is such a gift to me to heal. Because losing someone that you're that close to is
Mm,
absolutely devastating.
mm,
And so I think that this was probably the only way that we both knew that I could go on.
mm,
So, um, but your question is, when did I realize that we had a soul contract? And I think that it really had to have been when I started, when I sat down to go through each chapter of the book and to respond to the editor's comments. He was right here with me as I was reading
mm,
it.
mm.
And I knew that this was more than um, working on editing a book. It's
Yeah.
bigger, way bigger than that in terms of um, how this could impact other people. And I didn't know totally how it would impact me, but it has been profound,
Mm,
just profound.
yeah.
And, I think for me, you know, if you have someone that's here that you love, whoa, take full advantage of that, because
Yeah. Absolutely.
those moments are so precious. And so,
Mm.
uh, there's so much to learn from this. But, you know, you've touched me here, so I'm
I can feel it. I just want to hug you through the screen. Xenia, if it's okay with you, I've got two more questions. I would
okay,
like to
sure,
wrap
sure, sure.
our beautiful conversation up with two more questions. One, 2035, you are given the option to go back to 1585 to save humanity and not be able to come back. Would you do it?
Yes. And
I kind
I'll
of,
tell you that,
yeah,
and
yeah.
and I would do it, and especially if I could go to 1585 and meet my twin flame right now.
Oh, oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
Yes, of course.
He's my
I kind
twin
of,
flame.
I
I
think I knew
would
the
jump at
answer,
the
but I had to
chance.
ask.
I would jump at the chance to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, there's not that many years left to wait. So who knows?
Who knows? Who knows? Because I believe this to be real. So we'll see.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We've got 9 more years. So I'll bring you back to an interview just before you leave. Okay. Please promise.
Okay.
And and the other thing I want to ask you, imagine you've got nothing to do with the creation of the book. You're merely a reader and you come across this book for the first time and you're sitting with a girlfriend. What do you say to her why she needs to read the book?
Well, I think it can really touch your heart and your soul about your purpose. And to me, that's what there are so many themes in this book, but that's what I would say it would do.
Mm, I love that. I absolutely love that. I love what you've created there. I love that you have shared your story so openly. Before we go, is there any last words, anything that I haven't asked you, where like I really want the readers, sorry, the listeners here, to take this away? If there's one thing they would take away from this podcast, what would you like them to take home from our conversation?
Well, that there is um out I'm going back to what I just said. There's love and heart and imagination and care and soul contract work that has gone into this project. So it is, to me, so incredibly special. So it's very personal to me, and to
Mm.
Bill, and but it I think it will I think it can reach you, and I think it can touch you in your heart.
I love that. Senya, I truly have the feeling that you took us a little bit into your home, your relationship with Bill when you talked about your story today. To anyone listening here today, I just want to assure you we will leave all the links how you can connect with Senya and how you can get hold of a copy of this book for yourself in the show notes. So if you're watching this live, they're not in there yet, come back in half an hour, it'll all be there. Xenia, thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate you sharing so openly. And everybody else, if you love what you hear, just click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell for weekly updates of Unsilenced Grief. This is Marie and Xenia signing off. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.